everyone, and welcome to Morning Chalk Up. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. On this episode, we're catching up with the second fittest woman in the United Kingdom, and she just finished fourth place at Wodapalooza. We have Lucy Campbell still enjoying a nice little vacation. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in St. Lucia at the moment, but we go home tomorrow. So just soaking up the last, well, it's raining. So I would say soaking up the last rays, but it's not going so well.
I know. I think I looked at your Instagram a little while ago, and you're just like waiting for the sun for the last day, but the weather had other plans.
Yeah, definitely.
How has it been taking a little bit of time off after such an incredible performance at Wodapalooza?
Yeah, it's been really nice, to be honest. It's come at a really good time because obviously, like, when we go back, it'll be the start of kind of the open season, that kind of thing. So yeah, it was needed. It's been a little bit surreal. Like, my phone's been going pretty nuts for the last week or so, but I think it'll be even weirder when I get back because, like, all the people at the box are going to still want to talk to me about it and that kind of thing. So although I'm having downtime now, I'm fully expecting it to be a little bit hectic when I get back again.
When you say that your phone has been constantly going off, is it like text messages from people that, you haven't spoke to in a while? Is it Instagram messages showing you love? Like, what's going on in your phone?
Yeah, pretty much everything, to be honest. Like, it's been quite nice because I've had people that, I've known from different walks of life messaging me being like, oh, I've just seen this, it's incredible, well done. Like, people that I used to swim with or do gymnastics with and that kind of thing. And then, like, especially after the CrossFit Games posted that picture of me finishing the swim run event, like, I got, like 1,500 new followers off the back of that, and I was like, oh
Wow.
my god, this is wild. So yeah, it's just been stuff like that, and also, like, the new followers that I'm getting are a lot more interactive, I guess. Like, they'll reply to things and that kind of thing. So it's just been a very strange experience so far.
I always wonder, sure, like with a lot of people's careers, you see, like in the CrossFit space, you see a steady growth of, followers on social media, or you see their climb. But I feel like with athletes like you, who maybe a lot of people in this space didn't really know much about you before Wodapalooza, but then they see you, A, win an event, CrossFit is posting you, and then B, you almost finish on the podium.
Yeah.
What is it like to see your social media go like that overnight? Is it overwhelming, or do you find it stressful? Like, what are some of the feelings that come to mind?
It's a little bit overwhelming. It's just because, like, I've never been someone that has a massive Instagram following, nor do I put a huge amount of effort into, like, growing my following necessarily. I just kind of post whatever I want to post and post about training and life, and whoever follows me type thing. But to be honest, I think it's also a funny one because, like, the people that do follow me and that I'm friends with were like, because of the issues that they had with, like, seeing our numbers down the back of our arms and stuff like that, like, my name didn't get mentioned once until I was already on the treadmill on the swim run event. And so they were like, her name's Lucy, when they were, like, calling me other names and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like with all of it, it's just been a bit, I don't know, it's definitely something that I'm going to have to kind of learn to manage, because hopefully this is not the first time that people are going to see me on the leaderboard or, on the comp floor at events like Wodapalooza. So yeah, it's been a bit mad, but I definitely know that kind of this is the start of the way it's going to be. So I've just got to get used to it.
It's the start of the journey, but the journey, it didn't start at Wodapalooza. You didn't just show up and all of a sudden, like, holy crap, like, this girl is good. Like, it's been a progression. But before we get into Wodapalooza, let's talk a little bit about your athletic background. You mentioned gymnastics, swimming. What did it start like with your childhood? Take us through that.
So I started off with gymnastics. I was a gymnast until I was 12. I sort of was good. Like, I went to regionals and nationals, but we then, as a family, went on a holiday to the Beijing Olympics in 2008. And I was looking at these girls that were, like, 4 years older than I was at the time, doing these incredible moves. And I was like, I'm never going to get here. Like, realistically, it's not going to happen. So then not that long after that, I kind of switched over to swimming, which I was doing anyway in the background, just like once or twice a week. But like I took that on, quote unquote, full time. And so with swimming, like I progressed quite quickly. Once I started taking it more seriously, like it was a couple of months before I got my first national time. And then the next year it was like British champs and junior international representation. And then I was going to like junior Europeans, junior worlds for open water. So I had like quite a successful swimming career. And then kind of 2 years into uni, it just wasn't working out. I wasn't really enjoying it, like, normal kind of burnout stuff. And so then one of my friends got me to go down to the hockey trials. And so again, it was just another sport that I played in the background whilst I was swimming. So I played hockey for 2 years with the uni team.
Wow,
but
that's
like
awesome.
it wasn't really serious. Like, it was just a really good time. It was a completely different experience to swimming. Yeah. Because we have this thing called Bucks Wednesdays at uni, which is basically like your kind of varsity inter uni events and that kind of thing. And so I just enjoyed, being part of that kind of culture and getting drunk every Wednesday and going out and that kind of thing. And then one of the PTs at the gym that I was going to suggested that I try CrossFit because I was doing like a class there that was like a similar kind of, functional training, kettlebells, med balls, that kind of thing. And so then I went down to a local box on a Saturday morning and just like got thrown in at the deep end. I think my first WOD, there was handstand push-ups. I got my first ever handstand push-up.
On the first day?
Yeah.
Damn! That had to feel pretty good.
Yeah, that was fun. And then like, it was like barbell cycling, clean and jerks and snatches and that kind of thing. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I actually got put in a group with like some of the best girls in the box and was just, it was nuts. But I mean, it's just kind of taken off from there. I didn't really look back. As soon as I hit that first session, I was like, this is absolutely what I want to do.
How long ago was that when you finally picked up CrossFit and walked into that box?
So I think it was around just under 4 years ago. It was April 2018, I think, April or May. So yeah, it feels like a long time ago now, but actually it's not that long ago. It's just because of the pandemic and everything like that. It's just gone so quickly. So yeah.
Knowing that you had this feeling of burnout once you got towards the end of your swimming career, and then you took a little time off, you played hockey, found CrossFit. How do you alter, I guess, your training for CrossFit to prevent something similar that happened with swimming and to not burn out?
Yeah. So to be honest, I think the burnout was a result of a lot of things. Like my progression had stalled massively. If I'm completely honest, I don't think that I was in the right environment. There was some kind of disordered eating habits that were really not great. I had some really bad body image issues and that kind of thing. And so it was like, it all just kind of came to a halt. And I was like, this is like the whole thing. I wasn't happy doing it. Like, I wasn't performing the way that I wanted to. And, but also I just stopped like enjoying the main thing that I was there to do. So like, I was always someone that would train really hard and then never be able to like perform the way that I trained. And that's really frustrating, especially when you would see people around you that you would beat in training that would then beat you in a competition. And like, obviously people only care about the comp. So it was like one too many times of that happening basically. And me being like, this is taking up way too much like emotional energy for what I'm getting from it. So I think with CrossFit, the main thing that I've kind of tried to remember is that, like, first and foremost, I'm doing this because I choose to do it. Like, I enjoy doing it. Whereas I felt like with swimming, it was getting to the point where it had been so much a part of who I was for so long that stepping away from it seemed terrifying. And so it is just kind of holding CrossFit in a different way, in that, like, it is enjoyment first and foremost. And I know that there's not going to be every session that I enjoy, but as long as I feel like I'm getting closer to where I want to be, and actually overall I'm still feeling good about doing it, and I still feel like I'm getting stuff out of it, that's like my main priority. Because ultimately, like, I love working hard, and I do love training for it. And I think as long as that's the thing that drives it, I hopefully will avoid burnout. But it's just, and also, there's only so many times you can swim up and down a black line and it still be fun. Whereas, like,
yeah.
CrossFit's much more varied, so that also helps.
You're doing so many different movements that if you're sick of one thing, well, you might not see it for a couple of weeks, and there's plenty of other things that you can enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
The cool thing, your background potentially helped you win an event at Wodapalooza. You took first place on event 5. It was the row, swim, run. Your first major competition event win. What was that like for you?
I mean, it was nuts. It was I knew that would be a good event for me. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit concerned that the fact that it was only 250 meter swim, like, I think when that event came out, a lot of people messaged me and were like, oh my God, this is gonna be such a good one for you. And I was thinking, oh yeah, but, like, if you're a good enough runner and you're good enough on the rower, 250 meters is not a huge amount of time for me to actually, like, make up anything in that respect. But actually, like, I also knew that I was decent on the rower. I didn't know what my running was like in comparison to the other girls, but that was just about, like, get there and see what I can do. Ultimately, you can't see their pace or anything anyway, so you've got no idea what's happening when you're on that runner. So yeah, I mean, it was so surreal. Like, I think the best part for me was that it was probably about halfway through, and the announcer that was on the floor walked past me, and I think it was Emma Toole that was on the runner next to me. And he was like, oh, the top 2 girls are at 800 meters. And then he carried on walking. And I wasn't at 800, I was at 1K. And I was like, well, if Emma's at 800 and I'm at 1K, I know that I'm in the lead at the moment. And, like, that was really cool, because I was like, well, we didn't get on that dissimilar in terms of timing. Like, I think there must have been 5 or 10 seconds in it. But, like, that was a point that I was like, okay, you can definitely win this. Just, like, slow down. So, yeah.
I think it's interesting because the more athletes that I talk to, the more I'm realizing that they really do rely on those announcers to gauge where everybody is on the floor. How do you pay attention to, your breathing, your muscular fatigue, and listen to the announcers all at the same time?
You know what? It's a funny one, because I don't actively think about, like, hearing the announcers. I definitely don't. I don't actively try to listen to them, because you've got so much going on, whether it's on the other events and you're, like, rep counting or whatever, or just actually thinking about your strategy. But, like, on this one, I think because it's so monostructural, you are standing on the runner and you are running. It's really easy to just kind of hear the things around you. So yeah, like, in this case, it was actually really helpful to kind of have a good idea of, what was going on. But I also knew that actually I didn't know how much to trust it, almost, because, like, he did walk past and say that both the top 2 were at 800. And I was like, well, I'm not. So, like, this is a good sign, but also, like, is he lying? So I didn't know how to approach that. So I was just like, okay, just keep running fast, and we'll see where we get to at the end of it. But yeah, it's not something that I actively try to do. It's just that, like, if I hear something that's helpful, then it's like, okay, cool, we go.
How do you go through the rest of the weekend after winning an event? Like, for your mindset, does it keep you on this high and you use that as momentum to carry you through? Or do you have to change your mindset? Like, okay, I won that event. I'm going to celebrate for 10 minutes, but then I need to refocus. What's your strategy with that?
Yeah, to be honest, it's probably the latter. And it's definitely something that, like, I learned coming away from Wodapalooza, because, as I said, especially after that event, my phone was going nuts. And I wasn't necessarily trying to, like, I wasn't on my phone really actively. I wasn't leaderboarding or anything like that. But if people were tagging me in something, I'd just, like, repost it, because it's a bit like, it's mindless. It's quite easy to do. But actually, like, I think I gave myself like half an hour to kind of look at my phone and, deal with comments and that kind of thing. And then it was actually just about being like, every event is a new event, because it didn't matter what I'd done in the last one. If I messed up the next event, then I wouldn't be happy. Like, even if I'd had an event win, it's like, it would just kind of bring it overall down. So yeah, it was definitely a case of kind of draw a line under each event, whether that was a good event or a bad event. You treat each event separately. So yeah, I think, to be honest, next time I probably, if I've got another event that day and I've had a really good event, I probably won't look at my phone until afterwards, because it was I was meant to have a nap and I couldn't nap because I was just on too much of a high.
I can imagine that it's overwhelming, because even like, you see all of these studies on screen time and just like the way it kind of manipulates our brain and it keeps everything wired, that in a normal competition, maybe your phone wouldn't be going off this much, but you get an event win, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh my God, like, who is this girl? I need to, like, tag her, follow her, comment her, like, wish her well, which is what I really love about the CrossFit is people really are so supportive. But the cool thing is, you won first place in that event, but you also took a second place to end the weekend. You were so close to finishing on the podium. In third, you were just 2 points away. Before you went to Wodapalooza, what was the ultimate goal for the competition?
To be honest, it was literally just to, like, go and gain experience at that level of comp, because, like, Wodapalooza is my first like, international, well, live at least, because obviously it should have been the semis, but then that got put online. So it was just about kind of learning how to deal with being around games athletes, big names in the sport, the hype of the event, everything like that. It was literally just to gain experience, and then, but also, like, making sure that with all of that going around me, I was still making sure that I was concentrating on my own strategy, not getting carried away with what other people were doing and that kind of thing. So literally, like, for me, it was just about going there to use it as a learning experience, and then see what we need to work on kind of coming out of it. And so, yeah, it's just like, I mean, obviously it went 10 times better than I was expecting. But, going into that last event, I didn't realize where I was. Well, I knew that obviously I was doing quite well, but I wasn't leaderboarding. I didn't really have any idea of the points difference or who I was supposedly keeping an eye on or anything like that. And so, yeah, to be honest, it was a bit frustrating, because obviously with the devil press, I knew that Bethany Shadman and I were very close on the reps. And then I did a rep where my chest didn't obviously touch the floor, and then I went to press up. And as I was in that kind of half push-up position, my judge was like, make sure your chest touches the floor. And I was like, if I don't go back down, he's going to no-rep me at the top. So I had to take that extra second and went back down. And that ultimately was the thing that I think meant that I came in second, which is incredibly frustrating. But, it is what it is in a competition. You've got to do the standards. So, yeah, it was just a wild experience.
You took ninth at the CrossFit Lowlands Throwdown semifinal, which ended up being online, then 18th at the Last Chance qualifier. So two major competitions, but both formatted online. How was competing in person different for you, especially having those games athletes in lanes right next to you?
Oh, I mean, it's what you do it for. Like, I love kind of the pressure, but not really pressure, like the buzz of being under the lights and that kind of thing. It just completely brings out a different side of me that, I don't know, I'm more ballsy when I get on the cold floor, I think, to be honest. So yeah, like, and also when you've got the online events, you've always got the stress of like setting up the camera, making sure that the camera can see your movement standards properly, and like all of those kind of things. And then you've got to wait for the verification. And so like it never really feels done when the event is actually done. And that's quite stressful. So yeah, to not have to worry about that, to know that like when you cross the finish line, you've crossed the finish line and it's done. That's, yeah, I mean, it's just a relief, to be honest.
What would you say your biggest takeaway from Wodapalooza was?
Oh, that I'm good enough to be there. Like it was, when the events got announced, especially the first few with like the flip sled, and then the barbell complex, I was like, oh, these are heavy. Like, and with my endurance background, the kind of strength side of stuff is never really what I've focused on in the past. So it's just a constant like work in progress for me. But actually, like finishing 15th on that barbell complex, that was a big win for me. Like to finish top half on a heavy workout, it's, yeah, like even the stuff that I know needs work is doing okay. So yeah, definitely that I actually am good enough to be there and can compete with games athletes.
You're finishing up holiday. You go back to the UK. The season pretty much starts. What are you doing different this year to ensure that you can punch your ticket to the games come 2022?
So there's a couple of changes that I've made. Well, number one, I've been with my coach for just over a year now. And the start of us working together, I was basically injured. Like I couldn't do a lot of stuff. I'd hurt my back. So actually it took us until like December last year for me to start having every movement not last year, sorry, the year before, 2020, to start having all of the movements back in training. So like, I feel like this is my first year where I've had a really good block of training going into this kind of game season.
Are you in person with your coach?
No. So my coach is in Manchester and I'm in Nottingham.
Okay.
But like I go there kind of once a month or something like that to go and have a checkup. But the other thing is that I train alongside Kelly Marshall, who came third at the games for the Masters category last year. And so we're trying to get some more training in because we don't usually train together. But we're trying to get some more kind of training sessions in together this year because we both just really benefit from it. You know, there's nothing better than training with people that are training for the same thing, training with the same mindset, know how important it is to you and that kind of thing. And our box is really understanding of that as well. You know, everyone there is super supportive. The messages that we've had when we were both out at Wodapalooza were like, you know, really nice. And it's so nice to know that you've got the support of your box back home. So yeah, like it's pretty much just keep doing the same thing, keep working hard, but hopefully knowing that with a really good block of training over the last year, that's the thing that's going to carry through because it's just being consistent.
Well, Lucy, we can't wait to see what you do come this season. 4th place overall at Wodapalooza, a contender for heading into your rookie season. We're going to be keeping an eye on you, that's for sure.
That's mad. Thank you.
Thanks for catching up with us and good luck with the season.
Thank you.